Could we stand for prayer, and then we will immediately follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we invite your presence here among us. We ask, Lord, that you would be with the library board tonight and with the library staff. We just pray that your hand will be upon them for the duties that are assigned to them, and we thank you for them, Lord. We ask that you would just guide this meeting tonight, Lord, that your wisdom would flow throughout this room, and especially for the board. Lord, we seek your will, and we ask, Lord, for our transformation by the renewing of our minds, so that we might know what that good and acceptable and perfect will is, Lord. Guide us into that, Lord, and may you bless this board, this library, and this community. In Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome all to the Campbell County Public Library meeting this January 23rd at 6 p.m. We're going to start with the consent agenda. Are there any changes to the minutes, the financial reports, the voucher register, the expenditure report? All good? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I'll say yay. All opposed? Any opposed? I should say no. Okay, we all agree. Unfinished business. Terry, the library flooding enclosure.
We're getting very close to getting past this fiasco. The carpet installation will be finished by the end of the month. The young adult space is closed right now temporarily until the carpeting project is finished. We have to take the books out and furniture move around and everything. So replacement workstations are on order and due in towards the end of this month. Other items damaged in the flooding are in the process of being ordered, and I'm hoping to have displaced staff back in the basement in the next few weeks.
Great report.
Where's your staff that normally works downstairs, like the youth room? Where are they housed right now?
So the youth, we did open the teen room, so we temporarily until we could do this. So now they're kind of working in that staff workroom area, and then the technical services staff have been working up in the Georgia industry.
Special committee report, Chelsea?
I contacted all members of the committee, and no one could meet until this week. So I don't have a report yet because we're meeting later on this week.
The child policy. We tabled the child policy because we didn't get a chance to look at it before the meeting. Did everybody have a chance to review that? Are there any comments, changes, anything anybody saw?
Were there any changes since last month?
Basically, I cleaned it up, and so there was things scratched out or maybe hanging sentences. So I just cleaned up the grammar just a tiny bit. No substantive change.
Yeah.
I just wanted, oh, go ahead, Charlie.
No, I was just.
Oh, okay.
messing with
I
you.
just was curious if, like, in that third grade or younger, must have a parent or caregiver. We're not gonna define the age of caregiver. Is everyone okay with that? Like, not defining the age of
That's
caregiver?
up to the parent.
Okay.
We can't hear you.
You're right, sorry about that. So we're not changing any of the verbiage on the child policy. Carrie just cleaned up the chicken scratch, made it legible. Can I have a motion on the child policy?
I move to approve the child policy as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Staff training and development? Oh, that's not your staff training, that's for us. That was tabled for last time. Brandy, do you want to come up and? No, she doesn't really want to.
Okay.
Brandy had asked us last time if we would reconsider the WLA, and we tabled that, well, we voted on it and said no, we wanted to look into it further. And then I suggested tabling it to this time. You said you were gonna look into, see if there was anything else that you could suggest?
I did, and this is turned on, but no, it's not working. No, it's working. I did look into a few other options. I did not find anything that was not connected to ALA in some form or fashion. The only other recommendation I could make right now would be that the board make a subcommittee with a couple of board members and library staff to find other avenues that aren't the WLA, besides adopting the WLA back in. I spent more time on WLA, got more information. My recommendation would still be to bring WLA back for the staff. So my stance has not been able to be changed. But the only other recommendation, I am not an expert in library, obviously. Yes,
I thought it was in your blood.
Huh?
I thought it was in your blood.
It is, but she's better at it than I am, so she could probably volunteer to be on the committee. But that would be, if we're not ready to make a decision at this point, I think your best course of action would be to have a couple board members and some library staff get together and research and find an avenue there.
Any other questions for Brandy?
I have a question. Are the training opportunities through WLA or are they through the American Library Association?
The ones I saw were through WLA.
So it would be possible to have a relationship with WLA and still maintain the position of not paying for dues for the ALA.
That was my understanding. I'd have to triple check that, but everything I read was it's a membership with WLA, not ALA. It's a separate entity.
So if this board were to reconsider, at least as far as the WLA is concerned, then we'd still be able to offer employees here at the library the same kind of training opportunities that all other county employees get.
Correct. We would be including them back into that training and development fold and not excluding them, which is my main concern, is the other departments are offering continuing education and training and development. We all have a budget line item for it, and we don't want to take that away from the employees here.
Any other questions?
I feel like this question kind of relates to what we talked about last time. We talked about the concern the board has for staff and how they've been treated by the public. And we've been told that there's some trauma and that counselors had to be called in. I wasn't sure if there was a chance you had to create a survey for staff so we could have an evaluation of what the staff has experienced so the board can understand that.
I have not had that opportunity yet.
Okay. Is that something you're willing to work on?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
would anybody like to make a motion to do a special committee? Or,
Well, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider our position on the WLA. It seems to me we can, that in the discussion and the statements I've heard up to this point, the big stumbling block, if you will, has to do with the ALA, not with the WLA. I don't think, does anyone think the WLA has a hidden agenda to sexualize children?
I think that they use a lot of the same verbiage and they hold to the same tenets.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Is that not, is that better?
Yeah, you were turning away when you
Oh,
were
right,
talking.
sorry, trying to look. So, I mean, for instance, on the WLA website, they are lobbying against legislation that would potentially get the obscene books out of the children's area. So, stuff like that.
Well, I would like to make a motion to reconsider our position on the WLA for the simple reason that that's the only thing that I think we're going to find is available for training for our employees. We can still, and this board still has the opportunity to pass policy initiatives to counteract things that might appear to be bad for the library.
Do you have a second or any other comments?
So did you call for the, are you calling for the motion?
I made a motion and
Okay, I
our
second
chairman's
it.
asked for a second.
Okay, I second it.
Any discussion? The discussion I'd like to have is, there are a lot of county employees that do not get staff development still. And many library employees are part-time. I would like to not pay for part-time employees. I understand managers and full-time employees may get this. That's my thoughts on that. Any other comments?
I would think that during the budget process, that would be something we could certainly monitor to make sure that the amount for training wasn't unreasonable. I don't know, is that something that you look into?
That's something that the department heads a lot for. So currently for the WLA, it's 18 to 25 memberships per year. And it's reserved for full-time positions. So it's not for part-time less than 20.
Not less than 20. We have between 20 and 40. We have, like, for example, children's staff member who might be a member may serve on the committee to help with the Wyoming Book Awards, for example.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a little bit of that going on.
And that would be a part-time employee, like you said?
Right, under less than 40 hours a week, but a benefited employee though.
That's a part-time, more than 20 benefit
Yeah,
employee.
yeah.
So 20, less than 20 is part-time?
There's the joy of our structure here. Is we have our full-time 40-hour employees, then we have part-time more than 20 hours, which are benefited employees. They have access to our health insurance. They have benefits just like a full-time employee. And then we have part-time less than 20-hour employees, which do not have access to our benefits, nor would they have access to the training or the training funds.
Countywide, in every entity, is everyone that is part-time treated the same? Like, if you worked 25 hours at Children's Developmental Services, are you offered the same benefits you are as a public health employee that works, or public library employee that works 25 hours?
As far as benefits, yes. Yes. That has to be across the board.
Any other comments? All right. All in favor of reinstating the WLA, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Aye. Nay.
Motion does not pass. Would we like to do a special committee and look into things?
I make a motion to appoint a special committee to look into. Oh, sorry.
I make a motion to appoint a special committee to look into continuing education for librarians.
I second.
Any discussion?
I have one thing. Are you aware of any organizations that offer library instruction on the, up to the level of what we've been getting from the Wyoming Library Association, from some other entity?
I am not. That would be a Terry question. I have not been able to find one.
I spent some time looking at the different trainings, did some research. It's like everybody has an affiliation with the American Library Association that I can see.
Does our state library offer some training?
Occasional training, they are focused on the technology training for the catalog, and sometimes we have some training on that. They have an annual meeting because it's a contract that all the directors participate in. So we go in and have an annual meeting and talk about the features of the catalog, and then there may be some technicians who will train you on some feature of the card catalog. That's about all I'm aware of through the state library.
And do you know that they have some trainings for library board videos and stuff like that on there as well? So I've seen that.
Oh, sure. Part of the library, state library's job is to make sure good training materials are available for board members.
Any other comments? All in favor of joining, forming a special committee to investigate this further? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll form a special committee. Chuck, would you like to?
Yeah.
You'll head that up and then get a couple of librarians to be on there with you? Okay. Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Thank you. Thank you for coming to another meeting.
Collection development policy. I didn't expect for us to delve into that further now, except for to put something else on the calendar. So everybody get the calendars out. I cannot meet until after 6. Sorry about that, that's what it is. How's a Thursday night look for anybody?
I can't meet this Thursday night.
Groundhog Day.
I can't do the second, that's my son's birthday.
Oh, okay. Night.
I could sure meet on the night.
6?
Okay. So our next workshop will be for the collection development policy, be February 9th at 6 p.m. here at the library. So, I'm sorry, Terry, did that work for you?
Is this room open?
And
I don't know if it was up there.
Okay. That would probably be one smaller room.
Yeah.
We're cutting off at 8 p.m. then?
Yes. Yes. Well, we don't have that much left to go, so I think, I don't know, we might get very verbose and
8 o'clock.
duke it out, so that might be interesting, but.
8 o'clock or 8 or 9. 8 o'clock our night shift out.
Are we going to be able to go over, maybe I'm getting my processes mixed up, but we had that material that you circulated from a town in Idaho, I believe.
Oh,
Can we look at that at the same time, or should we
Yeah.
look at that at another time?
don't you think we should look at the same time? That was just an idea.
Yeah, I do. I think that would be a real good idea.
Yeah, I think we're just keeping you apprised of everything we're thinking. All right, new business, review of library staff goals.
Okay, so I provided a document that did a summary of goals for all the different areas of the library and mine. So would you like me to review a few things, or do you have questions on what would you prefer?
I mean, I know it's a trend of the library to get rid of fees, but in the long term, does that really work?
Well, so one of the things for getting barriers for library use is to talk about strictly the fines, the dime a day stuff. The administrative cost of doing that outweighs the benefit, and so it just seems like it might be worth considering to remove fees. And also, one of the other barriers for library use is when kids lose books and then their cards get blocked. And so I've been talking to the Friends of the Library about perhaps having a grant that a child could write to pay for the cost of the lost book, and then they would have to, do this thing. And
So it's not an easy freebie, they have to do some work.
Right. So that is something that has been on my radar. It's been pretty busy, and I haven't had time, so I thought if I write it down on paper and work on getting it done, maybe I can get it finished. So how do you feel about that?
Sounds excellent.
Okay. I will really still want these meeting rooms to be upgraded with modern technology, especially with the board meetings we've had in here. So a goal to try and get funding for that, and there's some grant stuff out there. And along with that are some other projects that would include putting in a couple of new study rooms that have some telehealth capabilities. I hear stories about parents taking their kids to Fort Collins every other week to see the doctor, where you might be able to do it on a telehealth in a telehealth space where you have the right equipment, and you can talk to the doctor over technology, not with a computer screen. So there's some grant money out there for that. I think that might really be a good community service. And then when we're not using it for that purpose, study rooms are very popular here, and so that would help us meet the demand for study rooms.
Where would you put those?
At the very back of the library, in that corner there.
By the resource area?
Where the government documents used to be, if anybody knows that, near the compressed shelving by the elevator on the other side of that, clear in the corner. And then I'm working on supporting some leadership development. I have a lot of new managers. I've been talking to Peregrine about some of their leadership classes, and I'd like to work on getting some leadership development for the management team.
Who is Peregrine Leadership? What does that mean?
It's a local leadership institute here in Gillette that offers a lot of different classes. They do a lot of different things. They also have more of an international company that does some, classes and training across the globe. But they do local training for businesses here. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
I think the idea of the study rooms is really cool. That's something that applies to our family. If we have a kiddo that we have to do a lot of telehealth appointments for, and so it's a really cool resource for the library to have.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to eat the mic, but that's what I'm doing. I just said that my son needs telehealth services, and so that is a really cool resource for families that aren't able to afford that. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
So you're ditching the Dewey Decimal System?
No, we're just doing it a little differently.
Not that.
So it's a blend of the bookstore model and the library model, where you have neighborhoods like the current health and wellness neighborhood, where things are organized in little pods by Dewey, but it's not, it's taking several areas of Dewey and putting it in one spot that is intuitive and makes sense. And so that is something that that we had started that project before, then we had just a changing in management. Now we want to get back to it, and she's anxious to get started back on that project.
So this document we're looking at, so these aren't your goals for each department. This is each individual department head's goals that they've
Right.
chosen. Right?
They,
Okay.
yep, we, you know, a lot of it ties back to strategic planning. Even though our strategic plan needs updated, there are some things, based on how busy we've been, there are some things that still need addressed, and this was one of them. But laying out the plan, putting down a timeline, getting started on it with the new manager that we have, that's what that's all about. So there's a lot of, you know, that library calendar contract that you approved a few months back. That's a big project, and so that's listed here to get that done. And then the staff also have goals within that. We have a new financial system that that a small team of people really know how to use, but we need to get that. We need to get managers and staff who do ordering up to speed on that financial system. So yeah, there's some good stuff there from the Youth Services Department. We have managers that really are seeking to develop themselves too in their new positions. So, any questions on anything in particular on this?
So are you willing, is this your final draft?
This is a summary of a stack of documents this tall.
Because, and you can, if you want to add this to it or not, or just do it separately, but in collaboration in our community, I would like to propose to you and your staff that to see if we can collaborate with the Boys and Girls Club. They've been trying to start like the teen program, and I think there would be some really good collaboration. Nate, I think would like that as well. They have grants for new computers now and everything, so I think that some of the younger teens, you know, would be willing to, I think that would help them as well with the teen room here and then collaborating with theirs. So that might be something to look at. That could, you know, be a goal for collaboration with the community.
We actually do currently collaborate with the Boys and Girls Club, but it's mostly focused on summer reading and getting youth programs when we do outreach. So there's some that we could take that and build on that.
Yeah, because I think when I talked to Nate about it, when we talked about it, we had specifically were talking about the teen area and stuff, but now with their new grants that they have, it's more, it can be bigger than we think now. Does that make sense? Because they got just a new grant money. So I just thought I'd throw that out there as, like I said, a goal for the community collaboration.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Any other comments? Request for report analysis of collection. So,
I got a note from Darcy updating the request.
right. I understand, but that's not really what I had wanted.
Okay, all right. What you looking for?
So as we were going through the collection development policy, I think it's always wise to inspect what you expect. And so I just thought it would be good for, you know, different board members to meet with you or department heads or whatever, and just, you know, do a quick overview of, you know, this is, you know, what we do and what we undo.
Yeah.
I want to have a conversation
Sure.
about how this could be done, or if this
Mhm.
is reasonable.
I can speak to some things. I have had requests from the public to put something in the collection, but it hasn't matched the collection development policy is the primary reason it hasn't gone in. So if you change the collection to development policy and let the stuff, I mean, things with bad bindings or that we're not vetted information, or there's a lot of different reasons, and I can give you an example or show you, at another time. I don't have an example here with me, but here's some things that we chose not to put in the collection because it did not meet our collection development policy criteria. Reputable publishers, vetted information, that kind of stuff. And I'm happy to show you some examples of that if I can find anything still around. But that's kind of a rare thing too. I mean, it happened 3 or 4 times. And I know that people really wanted to get something in, but it truly didn't meet our collection development policy. That's the decision.
So is there a process, kind of like the challenge process, if they, do they get a reason why back when they request something?
I don't know if there's been that kind of communication. Sometimes it's just, having the
Casual.
contact information, or casual, yeah, or here, I would like you to put this book in the collection. We get a lot of, we have over the years gotten things that just don't fit the collection development policy for a lot of reasons. And I would love to provide you some examples so you can see better what I'm talking about. It will make sense if you saw some of the examples that I have.
Well, I was looking at this and I had somebody from the community send me a list of the books that were asked, and I looked through them, and I see a discrepancy of a lot of the books that were refused with more of the Christian based. And
So I know some of those books, they were actually older books, and so there might have been a better selection of a newer choice. And so there were some things like that that happened. But it's hard to just talk about it without actually physically showing you what I'm talking about. I do remember some of those things coming in. Maybe it doesn't quite fit in our collection as well. Yes, we do have a religion section, but it's not necessarily the same as a church library with a lot of theology and stuff in it as well.
But I don't think these books have to be in the religious section. They can still be in the wellness, the social sciences area, just with that background.
I'm not sure which book you're talking about, so I
Well,
can't
Do
speak to
you,
that.
do you have a list that you could share with all of us, so we,
I do have a list, but I have an example tonight, actually. Can you hold up for me?
Yes,
So I have this book, Jesus and the Gender, Jesus and
My Gender.
and my gender. And I know this has been asked for, and it was declined, but this book is very Christian-based. And it would flow, it gives the other side of the view of what many people are talking about today. So I am asking for this book to be ordered for the library because I think it meets all standards for it. But you can still put it in that area. It doesn't have to go in the religious area. It could go into that neighborhood, all the things to give that diverse, and that's what we're talking about is the balance. Balancing those two thought things, like having that thought process, the balancing. And I think that's what we need to look at is, are we balanced between, Christian versus, Muslim even? I mean, and what they're doing, there's a lot of books about, Muslim friendships and coming out more in children's areas. So I really do think we need to look, and churches are starting to deal with this too. So I think we just need to, that's what we're talking about, is the balance to see where our collection stands with that.
I can't speak to it without examining it and looking at it, so I'll have to get back to you on that. I hadn't heard about that particular title before, so no idea.
So as far as that goes, I don't know, as far as, going through the policy and making sure that we are doing what we're saying we're doing.
Would this request for observing the collection, would that happen before we finish the collection development policy or after?
I just noticed it when we were going through the policy, and I
Okay.
talked to Darcy about it, and then she was a dog on a bone, she was going for it. Yeah, so she jumped right in there and did it, so she asked me about some information.
So should we?
Well, Madam Chairman, I'm confused. Is the question to have this particular book that our library hasn't seen before and go through an analysis about whether it would fit with your acquisition policies? Is that what you want to do?
I know nothing about that book.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that we are doing what our policy says we are doing, that we are following
Sure.
it, that when there are controversial areas, you're giving both sides of multiple sides of the arguments. There's often more than two. And so, there might be stuff on transitioning, detransitioning, whatever, and maybe that's too new for all that information. But I'm sure there's other things on, global warming and, other things that are controversies that are, pertinent to this community.
Point of order, please. I think the thing is, what frustrates me a little bit is that if you come and you're asked looking for a book, and then they'll say, I'll get it for you, what is the difference between that and ordering a book for the library? I mean, basically, if I came and said, I'm looking for this book, and they say, oh, we'll order it for you, or we can see if we can get that book through the interlibrary loan, or let's see if it's on ebook or whatever. I think there's a gap there that some people in the community are feeling like they're not being heard and their needs are not being met. And I think that's, where this controversy came from. And that's why I was looking to see where it's balanced. That's why when I asked when I did that revision to see what new books were coming in. So I'm really, I watch a lot of what's coming out all the time. And so just to see where we're at, what are the new trends coming out? I mean, when we order, it shows us a lot through how order and the trends that are, starting and the new authors that are coming, just to see how we're balancing out. And that's why I asked for just to update that list, just for the last year, instead of going back further.
But a list of books for me doesn't mean much. Honestly.
So how Sage is looking at it, and I look at it are two different things, because I can look at it and research, but I also go to the shelves and go see what's out there and but to me, that's way overwhelming to do that.
Well, early on, before most of you were on the board, I did a lot of presentations about requests for books and how a lot of our collection, a big chunk of our collection is developed based on patron requests. It isn't like we're just, oh no, you've requested this, we're not going to do it. But we do compare it to the collection development policy. If somebody wants a book that's 7 or 8 years old on the shelf, there's a chance that we might not be able to put it on there. Especially if it's a nonfiction book and the information's a little dated and there's newer, better information available out there. Those are the kinds of things. If we can, we will, but sometimes we get just requests that really will be one checkout of a book and then it will never move again. Those kinds of things, we have a good sense. We're committed to help, meeting community demand. I have done several collection analysis reports to show how our collection matches the needs of our community, the conservatism in our collection is there, the political preferences. There is just, we also represent the other side there, but I'm saying there's a big chunk that's here because that's what our people in this community want to read, and that's what they check out, and we want our books to check out. So I think we do a lot of these things. I think there's some one-off things, or somebody might be disgruntled about, oh, you didn't put this or that in, but there might have been some very good reasons for that. And the things that I've run across, we did have some good reasons, and maybe I could just take some time and pull a few of those things, as, I don't know if they're even still around, see if I can find some examples for you, but I will really try to do that to help with some understanding. And I will take what you said to heart. You know, I do think we do try to do what you're saying more than you realize, is what I think.
In my experience, when I was ordering books, I was told to order every award book because we wanted to be a representation of award-winning books in our library and have that. And I would follow books, and I would come to my supervisor and say, I'm really frustrated because I ordered these books and they're not checking out. And I put them on the top of the shelf and create a display, and they just did not check out. And I just find that some of the books I was told I needed to purchase because they were award labeled books, they didn't have the themes in them that are represented in Campbell County, and I think that's why there was no interest. So I find if our community is requesting books, regardless of what it is, I really struggle with saying no to them, because even if it checks out once, that's more than the award-winning book that I said we should purchase that then never left the shelf once.
Well, and I wonder if that's also a little bit of a one-off, because we have one of the best circulating children's collections in the state. It does very, very well. So that's stuff that we pay attention to. That's a metric that we say, hey, we must be doing something right. So,
I check out 35 a week or more.
Yeah.
I mean, we're constantly checking out books. And that's how I have such a knowledge of what's available in our collection. But I'm able to follow books that way. And when I used to be a staff member, I was able to pull up a report and be able to look at why is this book not being used when I thought it, Hornbook said it was supposed to be, this really great story. So I just challenge that idea that just because it's an award-winning book or just because it's following the rest of the world's norms doesn't necessarily mean it represents Campbell County.
Sure, and then also I think that there are award-winning books that fly off the shelves. So, I wish we had a crystal ball for every book we selected and could say, this is going to be great or this is not. I mean, it's hit or miss sometimes, it really is. But for the most part, I think we have pretty actively used collections, and I feel really good about it.
What is the policy for patrons requesting? Can a patron request only 2 books a year, or is there a limit?
No, we fill what we can. So we look at our budget, how much money do we have, at the end of the year, we're out of money, different things like that. Is the book really old? Is this book something that is pretty obscure and it's like a $200 book? Are we really going to buy this and no one's only going to check out one time? I mean, we are analyzing from so many different directions. So it's a case-by-case basis. But I do think that one of the things that I think is pretty cool about our collection is we fulfill a lot of patron requests.
Yeah.
We really do.
You've done a few for me, I know. I just wish we could do it for everyone. I want to see that last.
We don't have the 42,000.
Right. So I guess you're saying that you're gonna do an example one next time?
Sure, I'll see if I can show you an example of one. I don't know what we still have laying around, but I'm going to look.
Yeah, we should look at the book that.
And then.
Yeah, it sounds like Darcy either has a book or
I'll send it.
some books that are of concern to her, and those might make a really good case study to look at and go, well, what about this, what about that?
Sounds good.
I'll send them to you, Terry. And actually, I just wanted to say, I know I'm probably not saying this right, but I do think that we have a really strong collection. I'm just saying there's just holes in it, but I had a friend we had lunch dinner with, and they said that they came and did some touring and stuff and loved our library and the children's teen area and everything. So, but with the collection, we just, like you said, it's a crapshoot what books you get. I mean, I've done that on Amazon. You get a book and you go, oh my gosh, why did I order this? So.
Thank you.
Canopy. We were made aware of, Canopy is our video streaming service through the library, and we became aware of a untoward film in there, and Terry jumped right on it and was able to get it out of our collection. Am I correct in saying that there is a parent control in that we're?
Yes, Canopy has a child module that is completely separate from the adult collection. And so, and it's really popular. There's a lot of great kids content on there. So there's an option that's easy to find under the account settings that allows the parent to put a parental control on it so kids can choose what they want to watch without straying outside of the collection of kids things and getting into the collection of adult things. Parents can set these controls, set a pin on it, and so it has, it's really highly reviewed for things like that. It's highly reviewed on family-friendly sites to the children's portion. So it's one of the best streaming platforms in terms of having great content. We did have a one-off there that it really was the right thing to do to remove it from the collection.
Okay, is that control, is that automatic, excuse me, is that control automatic?
No, you have to go to the account settings
So
and
if the
set
parents
it.
don't block it, the kids have access?
When I logged in the first time, it gives you the option.
Okay, yeah, that's what that, yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, so, but you have to go through the steps and do it. It doesn't happen automatically because the parent has to set the pin.
Right. I was really pleased. Another patron had informed me of this book, and Chuck had mentioned it to me as well, or this movie. And I was really pleased. I reached out to Canopy, and they said, I appreciate you writing in. I'm sorry for any frustration you felt about this title. In your Canopy collection, each library controls which films to include in its collection, and Canopy doesn't remove titles from a library's collection without first receiving a request from the library to do so. I encourage you to reach out directly to your library with any feedback on their film collection. You can find contact information on their website. So I thought it was a really great response, and I thought you did exactly what I am so thankful you did. And then you removed it right away, and it's no longer in access to any of the patrons in Campbell County. So thank you.
All right. Next item is the book drop box. Chuck?
I know, and actually I was watching somebody tonight come in, and they had to get out of their vehicle, and they got hung up on the guardrail, so I'm wondering if we can't have I don't know, some kind of a committee or whatever, or have somebody come in and reevaluate moving that drop box out somehow.
So there's a story.
I figured there was.
There was. The book drop used to be closer, and you could reach through your window and use it. And a school bus came around, hit a pole, heaved up all the asphalt. Public Works spent a fortune fixing all of it, and they put it back a little further so that couldn't happen again. So that is why it isn't as easy to get to as it once was. And it is under the county's Public Works control a little bit more because they paid for everything and fixed it.
Yeah, we can't assign any more monies.
I can ask, say, would you please move it and spend the money to move it? But that's why it really was
I
a
think maybe
big
they might
disaster.
overdid it. Because and I've used it half a dozen times myself, and it is, with ATMs the way they are now, yeah, the book drop it's absolutely insane.
Maybe because the school bus doesn't go through the ATM, but we have a lot. We do have school buses bring the kids over from the junior highs, and so that's, it was embarrassing for the school district. I will share your request with the Public Works Department.
All you can do is ask.
Can you put a weak freeway in the spot so when the bus hits it?
Exactly, Bruce. I thought that myself. You could have a breakaway on the whole thing. Anyway, if we could talk to Public Works about that, because like I said, I've used it a half a dozen times. I know several people that have dinged up their cars and everything else, and there's got to be a little bit better solution to that.
Restrict the people who just got their CDL not to go through the library parking lot.
If you knew how the school district and the bus drivers were right now, you wouldn't even imagine what that is.
All right, fiscal year 23-24 Commissioner's budget message.
Yes, there's a letter for your review. And so we use that as a guideline as to how we proceed in creating our budget. And
I thought we should put in some 1% request for redoing this room instead of going through.
And for the book drop.
And for the book drop. 1% money for the book drop and for this room. I mean, that's infrastructure, it fits the bill.
okay,
So I think we should ask.
I have requested it within the budget. It was requested last year and it was denied. So we'll try again this year. And I haven't had luck getting 1% funds for anything but youth things. And even that, not so much anymore, but.
I think, that's a song story. I think about that.
We have no one. You just pass them down. Right here, here's the back.
All of it. Here.
Oh, thanks, Randy.
We don't need a new sound system.
So I think that one of the things that I heard from a source close to me is that the 1% is trying to go back to infrastructures. Some people have lobbied for that, that I've heard. And so putting in for infrastructures might be more willing this year because it's kind of going back that way again.
Sure. You know, a lot of this building was remodeled on 1% funds, but it always had to have back in those days, it had to have a connection to youth. So the children's department remodel was helped with 1% funds. So I'll look into it more and see what we can do.
I think it's just kind of changing up somehow.
Yes,
so.
you bet. Thank you. Anyway, so we'll request these, get our blinds taken care of. I think that I would like to review the final list with the Public Works Department because sometimes it evolves a little bit, so I'll bring back more information from them.
Is this, I have a question, Terry, on the, from this message. And I think it was just more of a concern for you. I mean, I guess I wasn't understanding, but with, I know there was discussion on the merit system and doing the, with the merit system, and maybe this is a question for Brandy too, is that, roll your eyes at me.
Roll the whole bag.
If we don't, if you guys don't do evaluations, is that gonna hurt you getting the merit for this coming up fall? I was confused about that.
Okay, so.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes complete sense. So if there's a merit raise, we absolutely will be doing evaluations. It isn't that it's not, there is still a meeting between the manager and the employee. There's goal setting going on. Goal setting is part of an evaluation. We just don't go through and rate performance the same way, but we have a discussion. If an employee is a problem employee, we do an action plan. If somebody needs to improve their performance, so performance is handled in a lot of different ways, but if it's a merit raise, it's definitely tied to a performance, to a performance raise, then definitely we'll be doing it.
Well, I was just concerned about that for, you guys, that merit raises are important to you, so
Yeah,
just making sure that we follow the right things. Do you guys get it?
sure. I'm not too worried
There'll be
about
a
it.
new
It's not been an
system
issue.
as well, and a new performance system, so.
Thanks, Ms. Brandy, for that.
So any more capital maintenance or construction?
Nope, and next month I'll have the whole budget package ready for you.
Is there always a cost of living increase that the compensation committee is over, or is
No, it's a year-to-year decision. You know, we had flat inflation for a long time, but all of a sudden, so it's become, going to the grocery store is pretty painful. So, I'm sure that there will be a recommendation coming forward, have some discussion. Don't know what it'll be, but we'll see.
All right, director's report.
Working on getting our in-service put together. We had hoped to have some emotional intelligence training, but that particular type of training was not available when we needed it. So we're looking at that. I talked about leadership training for managers, board trainings coming up. Has everybody had a chance to sign up? If anybody needs me to help, let me know. And then Irene will attend some Tyler financial system training in May. And that's our new financial system, so we're still wrapping our minds around that. We have had a teen scholarship workshop series, so we've been helping teens learn how to properly fill out financial aid scholarship documents. Just some of the things we do, we support local art with our Artist of the Month displays. Our book discussion programs, we have them monthly. They promote lifelong literacy. We have a Liberation of Auschwitz program. It has a ton of interest from patrons in the community for this program. Public meeting rooms, something your library provides, very popular for a community space for people to meet in a neutral place. Library of Things is big. We do some things along those lines. And just some examples of that is there's a seat exchange at the Wright Branch Library that supports local gardeners. And here we have literacy kits that daycares can use to do story times in their homes. We're really dealing with our new Aspen card catalog. It's been really cool. I don't know if you have done a catalog search lately, but it's very attractive, very intuitive, and much better than what we had in the past, I think. Right now, we're in the middle of getting our fobs. Finally, we had a meeting and it's actually going to happen, and so we're going to decide how each door will be programmed and how people will enter and exit through our doors. Still working on getting these other things done, like the fire panel, trying to resolve the sewer smell still. They've done a lot of different tests to try and get to
Terry,
that.
do you imagine that the FOBS project will be included in the budget this year, or will it actually get completed?
It was budgeted for this year, and so all of the hardware has been installed. The last step is to actually program it.
Oh,
So we're very close to the end. It's been going on for about 3 years.
yeah.
The roof work will resume in the spring. I've already reported on the basement. We have had a issue with the staff entrance door not latching properly. Big storms going on there. Door actually came open. The door is actually supposed to open to the outside instead of to the inside, so a big replacement is needed. There are public buildings open to the outside. So
This is in Wright.
This is in Wright, yeah. So hopefully that is something that they're looking at what they need to order, because it's a bigger project than it started out to be. We do have some malfunctioning with the intrusion alarm system. I hope to get Collins out there. Stonework repairs are still needed. We've talked about Tyler training coming up. Our first payroll in Tyler had issues, so we're working through those countywide. And then we continue with our safety training. We now have a 20-hour position open in reference since Ashley moved. And there were, at the time of this writing, we were recruiting for a 20-hour right branch specialist. But that's been decided. Last page, workshops and meetings, just gives you an example of the kinds of programs that we've had going on. Looking at Overdrive 2022 statistics, close to 79,000 versus 58,000. So this is an area of high growth for this. And so we are diverting money and to help meet the demand. And it is a challenge to meet the demand right now. Canopy, you can see too, has been popular, a popular product, and it's grown by about 78% over last year, the circulation. And the foundation had a challenge to raise money for marketing, and so they did a good job with that. And then we'll be meeting in February for a regular meeting. Friends of the Library meet tomorrow night. They're preparing for the antique and vintage book sale. Usually that's part of our annual book sale, but due to the flooding in the basement, we weren't able to really access the books, so we're going to go ahead. They're taking up too much space, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that. And they give out high school scholarships. And that's everything.
I have a question, and I've just wondered this for a while, but do you think with the Overdrive, with the ebooks, has that hurt people coming in to do the collections, or, I mean, coming in, and checking out books versus just going on Overdrive?
So physical collection is down, but so is the budget money that we're putting into it, because we had to take some money and put it into ebooks. But some places are stronger than others, so it'd be, I should, provide a report to you with our budget requests that may give you an idea of some of the statistics, so you can see what happens over time.
I was just curious, because it seems like overall things that I've read that ebooks are going up.
They definitely are going up, and physical circulation is definitely going up. And we always go through these format changes. Videos in libraries, people aren't buying DVDs the way they once did, and they're streaming. So Canopy was a nice solution for libraries to be able to help people access a streaming service instead of check out a physical DVD. So there's little things like that. We're constantly updating our formats. Vinyl, I may have said this before, I apologize, I say this a lot, but when I first came to work here, they were phasing out vinyl records. Now they're back again, so.
We love those vinyls.
Question. On the vintage and old.
On the vintage books, how is the price put on those?
So we have, this is like a good volunteer project. We have a volunteer help us research the value of books. People clean out from their estates and donate books and stuff, and so we kind of go through ones that we know we have a good feel for, that maybe this will be something good for the antique and vintage. We can look at the publication date, things like that. A-books is one place that we look. There are other areas that we also check. We evaluate the condition of the book and try to find some information on what the value of that book might be somewhere else.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Anything else? Are you done?
Yes.
All right.